Marine reacts to Warhammer 40k series, specifically the Imperium of Man by the Templin Institute. As always, I'm going to post a link to the original video and channel down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. Alright, real quick, this is kind of our second video as far as dealing with Warhammer 40k, specifically focusing on Man right now, just because I've heard that that's kind of a good way to get introduced to this lore, and very curious to see how this is actually going to be told. Is it going to be told? I mean, obviously it probably won't be told as like an SCP format, as a document from like a researcher. It's probably, I'm assuming it's going to be more told like from a story standpoint. Honestly, don't know too much if there is main characters or like a character that we would follow, so that's going to be interesting to find out. And if you have any more factions, events, or anything like that that has happened in Warhammer 40k, go ahead and comment that down below in the comments, and that way I can get to it, because now I'm starting to build my own little Warhammer 40k list. There's a couple of videos on it right now, mainly from Brecky, one about a channel named Russian Badger, I believe, and one about an Australian guy. So I'm trying to build that list up a little bit. I have a couple right now, not too much, but I'm hoping this video kind of gives me a chance to like start to like be able to branch out as far as different things within this universe to actually explore different races, different just settings in general. Also, again, real quick, and this is just me repeating myself, how do you all feel about me actually starting to read some SCPs that you really don't see a video about, but have seen them in like the documents on the website? Just curious to see what y'all think about that. Let me know down in the comments below. Before we get into the actual video, don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Hit that notification bell right there, that way you get notified every time I do upload. Sometimes uploading twice a day. Typically working on them in the morning and then releasing them in the late afternoon until the evening. That way when y'all get off work, you can enjoy the videos at your leisure. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and see what the Imperium of Man is all about.
In the grim darkness of the far future, the worlds of mankind stand on the precipice of destruction. Beset on all sides by predatory alien empires and threatened from within by heretics, mutants, traitors, and worse.
Heretics, so I have also heard that religion plays a big part in this, so heretics, I'm guessing that's where that comes from. So when she said that they're besieged by all sides, so does everybody just hate humans, or does everybody just hate each other, but man just happens to be at the center?
Yet even in this dying galaxy, in a time when peace has been forgotten and every hope seems lost, there stands a great bulwark between humanity and that which would destroy it. It is a power of unimaginable scale, in command of inexhaustible armies that hold back the eldritch terrors that await beyond. It is a regime built on benevolence and cruelty, repression and stagnation, irrational superstition and bureaucratic corruption, a nation tempered in the fires of endless war. It is the 41st millennium, and rising from the light of ancient Terra stands boldly the great work of the Emperor, the Imperium of Man. It is commonly said that the Imperium presides over 1 million worlds, but the truth is far less simple. Every year its dominion waxes and wanes as new systems are colonized or conquered, and lost worlds are brought back into the fold, while elsewhere across the galaxy, planets are isolated and lost, taken by Xenos or brought to ruin by rebellion. The Imperium carries on only through the weight of its own immensity, ever expanding and ever declining. To think of it then as a single realm of defined borders and united territories is a fallacy. Against the enormity of the universe, even the Imperium...
Okay, hold on. There's a lot of information being thrown at me right now, so if I miss something, just understand. It's like only my second video into something that deals with Warhammer 40k, so... it's talking about that they're continuously colonizing, but they're also declining. It kind of reminded me of kind of like ancient Rome, right? Where they also like just spread out too much too soon, and that I'm wondering that if this plays a part as far as like other races, because people have been commenting like that there's orcs, that there's these psychic magicians there's demons. I heard them say mutants, the rebellion. I don't know if heretics would technically be their own group, but and apparently since they all hate man, wouldn't they use this opportunity in their decline to actually attack man? I don't know if they've ever tried attacking man in all one force, or they've done like guerrilla warfare tactics, but I don't know. I'm assuming because I've also seen that people, when they talk about the Space Marines, which is what I heard that they are called. It's just like a non-formal way of doing it. Was that 500? I believe they said could take over a planet. So, and I've heard that that's always been like the very big thing that has deterred a lot of other groups trying to attack man. Yeah.
Imperium is spread thinly, and its worlds might be separated by hundreds or even thousands of light years. Planets within the Imperium are separated as much by technology as distance. Even within a single system, one world might be home to advanced industries and enriched with great wealth brought about by interstellar trade, while another might exist in squalor, its medieval population worshipping imperial administrators as divine emissaries. This disparity is as much by design as by circumstance. There exists a great fear of technology that borders on superstition, and planetary governors might insist on restricting certain knowledge in order to keep their populations docile and subservient. The disparate and widespread nature of imperial holdings makes cataloging them completely unfeasible, although entire armies of administrative staff spend their lifetimes attempting to do so. Instead, the Imperium is divided into 5 administrative zones known as segmentum. The segmentums of the Imperium span the entire galaxy, with the only limits to the imperial domain imposed by the range of the Astronomicon, an immense psychic beacon projected by the Emperor of Mankind from within the Golden Throne. The beacon provides the means for the ancient families of the Navis Nobilite to plot a course through the otherwise incomprehensible dimension known as the Warp. This nightmarish realm is the primary method used by the Imperium for faster-than-light travel, and remains so vital that should the Emperor fail and the light of the Astronomicon be severed, then the Imperium would quickly collapse into chaos and darkness. Emperor of Mankind remains the formal sovereign of the Imperium, although in the millennia since his body was shattered and entombed within the Golden Throne, the rule of mankind has fallen instead to the Council of the High Lords of Terra. Entrusted to interpret and enact the will of the Emperor, the High Lords carry out the day-to-day decisions necessary to govern the Imperium. Judgments of the High Council affect the lives of endless trillions, but the nature of the Imperium prohibits any centralized governance from being universally enforced. Instead, the Imperium makes use of countless organizations to keep the wheels of bureaucracy and war moving. Perhaps the largest of these is the Adeptus Administratum, teeming with countless scribes and petty officials. It administers the Imperium at every level, collecting tithes and taxes, performing censuses, and determining which threats to the Imperium must be dealt with, and by which of the Imperium's myriad of military forces, alongside 1,000 other chores and duties. The Administratum is a maze of subdivisions, departments, and offices, some conducting programs that are no longer needed, while others may have been abandoned entirely, its clerks doomed to perform a menial task that's purpose has been forgotten. On Mars dwells the head.
Alright, hold on. This Imperium of Man, it just sounds depressing, man. Like, and that's putting it nicely. And it seems like the only way you'd be able to have a chance, because if there's that many, like there's trillions and trillions and trillions of people, then obviously the amount of corruption would be insane from what it seems like. And also I've heard many people say that there's no really good guy in this whole universe. It's more of the who would you want to win, and enemy race just kind of doing whatever they can to ensure that they survive. Also, they talked about their entire space area that they're in charge of. Does that mean that every other race that wars with them, are they outside of that space, or are they inside and they're just like little factions? Like, think of it like, I know, I'm calling it a gang, I guess, but like that's just to help me get like a frame of reference. Is like they might be big, but the Imperium man is just way bigger. You know, if that makes sense.
Headquarters of the Adeptus Mechanicus, an ancient priesthood of technicians and engineers responsible for the construction and maintenance of all Imperial technology and equipment. Granted a level of independence unequaled within the Imperium, the Mechanicum is viewed with suspicion by the rest of the Imperial administration. Their forge worlds operate without oversight, and their religion is viewed as almost heretical. Above all,
It's another religion aspect going on again.
priesthood of Mars covet knowledge, and they guard their discoveries with jealousy. Binding the Imperium together through faith is the Adeptus Ministorum, the ecclesiastical hierarchy of the imperial cult, which spreads the universal worship of the God Emperor of mankind. Known commonly as the Ecclesiarchy, the organization wields considerable power, for it derives its authority from the common belief in the Emperor's divinity. Even by imperial standards, it is a complex and baffling hierarchy of priests, confessors, cardinals, and dozens of other ranks and titles. All across the Imperium, its agents guide the soul of mankind, purging heresy and inspiring true devotion. Of all the imperial organizations, however, the sanctioned psychers of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica, the guardians of imperial law, and the...
Looks like Judge Dredd. On another note, there's a lot of words that seem like they're coming from like a Latin standpoint. I've always just realized that, like in futuristic type things, that it's always somehow related to Latin.
Adeptus Arbites, the royal guardsmen of the Adeptus Custodes, or even the vaunted killers of the Officio Assassinorum, no single institution holds greater power or instills more fear across the galaxy than the Imperial Inquisition. Inquisitors are charged with protecting the Imperium against...
These are the ones I wanted to know more about. Look at that.
the malevolent influences of the galaxy, whether they be the allure of alien philosophies or the machinations of the ruinous powers. Its members may pass through doors that would be closed to all others, and there are very few in the Imperium who can refuse to execute their orders without complaint or delay. The Inquisition operates outside of the control...
Never mind, I don't think that's the same as the Space Marines. It looked similar, so...
of even the High Lords of Terra, and answer only to the Emperor and themselves. While such organizations have wide-reaching authority, their direct involvement in the governance of individual planets and star systems is relatively uncommon. For as long as the imperial tithe is paid and obligations and responsibilities are met, the Imperium is content to allow various imperial commanders and planetary governors to rule their worlds, systems, or even sectors however they see fit. In this way, the Imperium resembles some manner of feudal confederacy, with a hierarchy of lords and vassals stretching from the lowliest...
Why is it even in the future, they'll be insanely advanced technology-wise, have all these things, but then typically go back to, as far as like how to run society, they usually go back to like what they did in like what, the 1300s, 1400s, like way back then, right? And they know that hasn't worked, but they still do it. I just always find that kind of interesting because it kind of always seems to be the case.
Page to the Emperor himself. Such a system, while effective at maintaining order and enforcing imperial authority, means that very few worlds are governed in the same manner, and mobilizing these discordant vassals and feudal lords is often taxing and slow. In a galaxy of carnage, it is by the will and strength of humanity's armies, rather than its bureaucrats, that has allowed the Imperium to endure for so long, while other powers have withered and failed. Mankind has always excelled in warfare, and the Imperium commands a vast array of powerful forces, rivaled by nothing else in the universe. The backbone of imperial strength is the Astra Militarum, also known as the Imperial Guard. Consisting of countless millions of trained men and women, often armed with nothing more than a lasgun, a bayonet, and their faith in the Emperor.
Bayonet. We actually did some bayonet training in boot camp, and that was it. We never really used it or touched it again. We were never issued it. it's nice to see that they are still they brought the bayonet back essentially.
Imperial Guardsmen can be found in nearly every garrison and battlefield. They are the first line of defense and the focal point of any crusade. While the Imperial Guard musters countless armies, certain worlds have won great acclaim across the Imperium for the quality of their soldiers and the heroics of their regiments, their deeds and commanders entering the Imperial pantheon of legends. It is the superhuman Adeptus Astartes.
These are the guys I'm talking about. I've really heard there's people who have commented on the Astartes video what these guys go through, what the little things meant on their forehead, what they're capable of, what the armor is. They went through a lot, even the pistol, and it's insane. If I had to choose to be a part of someone in this faction, or just in general in the whole Warhammer 40k, I would probably choose to be Space Marine. Right? Marine, Space Marine. Yeah. Although, about all that, I don't know how these guys would deal with, because I mean, I've heard that they're like just straight, like they're gonna keep going until they die in combat, right? And I'm assuming, I'm wondering if these guys have any individuality or just like any say on how they do things, because that's kind of how it was in the military when I was in. Some of the time where you're told like, hey, you need to get the job done, but you might have to do it this way specifically, or hey, get this job done, and you're kind of left to your own as to far how you get it done, right? So I'm curious if that ever comes up amongst them. So,
who have come to symbolize the might of the Imperium, however. Elite warriors gifted with immense strength, size, resilience, and intellect. These Space Marines have inherited the traditions of the Emperor himself, and are one of the few forces available to the Imperium that can rapidly respond to a developing threat. The Astartes are divided between roughly 1,000 chapters, each with their own storied history and proud traditions. Though few in number, a squad of Space Marines can turn the tide of battle, while an entire chapter can shift the balance of a war. In space, the Imperium calls upon the great war fleets of the Imperial Navy. The starships it operates are legion, ranging from single-man fighters and bombers to ancient battleships capable of terrible displays of destructive power. In addition to its armadas, the Navy also operates colossal space stations, great ports, and distant anchorages, always at the ready to deliver the forces of humanity to the next grand battle zone. The enemies of the Imperium are simply too many and too varied for any single organization to effectively combat, and there exist a great many specialized orders and detachments used in only the most specific or dire circumstances. The Grey Knights, the Death Watch, the Orders Militant of the Adepta Sororitas, the Skitarii Legions, and Collegia Titanica of Mars. The forces of the Imperium are as innumerable as their foes, and it is only through their ceaseless vigilance that the Imperium is sustained. In spite of its unlimited military potential, during extreme circumstances when the price of retaking a world is simply too high, or the risk of spreading mutation, disease, or heresy too great, the highest authorities in the Imperium can order exterminatus. Through orbital bombardment, virus bombs, cyclonic torpedoes, or other instruments of extermination, a planet's biosphere is completely destroyed, along with all life on it. This...
What the hell? I've heard mentioned too that not only would the people be expendable, but they're just sometimes destroying planets. I think this is just one of those moments where man just probably advanced too far technology-wise. I don't know. It's very hard to wrap your head around, like, boom, planet, done. Huh. I don't know if they would do that just because it was like an enemy planet. There was some a faction that was there that they couldn't find, so they just decided to nuke everything. But dude, man, I can't even imagine.
This terrible order is rarely given, and only as a last resort.
Okay, rarely given and as last resort. Okay. It makes a little more sense, but, you know, still.
If the Imperium has ever known an age of peace, then it is an era long forgotten. It was in war that the Imperium was founded, and through war it has endured. In the 30th millennium, from the terrors of the Age of Strife, when anarchy, war, and destructive technological regression brought man to the edge of extinction, there arose the Emperor. He served as a guiding hand that brought man back from the brink, and ushered in a new golden age for all of humanity. Using his legions of Thunder Warriors, the ancient precursors of the Space Marines, global order was restored across Terra, and once again the planet became a hub of unceasing activity, production, and planning. Aligning...
So he used his men, so it kind of seemed like it was forcibly. But I mean, then again, if there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, you got someone who's willing to bring some order, even if it's by force. I don't know, I guess it just depends on kind of the way you would see it.
Himself with the tech priests of Mars, the Emperor and his legions set off across the galaxy in search of the Primarchs, 20 beings of extraordinary power crafted from the Emperor's own genetic material. Seized and hidden by the dark gods of chaos, over time each Primarch was found, and they joined the Emperor's great crusade as his most capable commanders, diplomats, and warriors.
Why does everybody look like they're 8 feet tall?
Thousands upon thousands of human worlds were liberated and united under the Imperium. But in this moment of triumph, as the Emperor worked in secret to bring about his greatest gift to mankind, the galaxy descended once more into chaos and war. War Master Horus, the favored son of the Emperor and greatest of his generals, was manipulated by the dark gods of chaos, and together with 9 of his brothers, split the Imperium in 2. When the Horus heresy finally came to an end after 9 years of civil war, the traitor legions had been beaten and Horus slain. But the effort had laid waste to much of the Imperium, and the Emperor, mortally wounded in his last great confrontation with Horus, was sealed inside the Golden Throne, now physically broken with only his immense psychic will remaining. In the millennia since, the dream of the Emperor has wilted and died. The promise of knowledge and understanding has been replaced by ignorance and fear.
So it seems like the original Emperor, right, had a good mindset. I think, I'm not too sure, correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed like he's one of those guys that wanted to do like really good for people, but then he would end up dying and just it would never come true. And then some people later on would come along to try to take the place, and then they would manipulate it and they would use it as kind of like a showy thing where say, hey, we'll help people, but we're going to do it our way, and we really don't care what you think. So I don't know, but we'll see.
Endless war is now the purpose of the Imperium, and each century brings grave new threats and short-lived triumphs. Orc warbands spread unchecked across the stars. Tyrannid hive fleets circle the galaxy like predatory sharks, all while ancient and young races alike work to usurp the Imperium's position of superiority. Even the light of the Astronomicon has begun to flicker and fade. In the aftermath of Abaddon the Despoiler's 13th Black Crusade and the fall of the Cadian Gate, unprecedented warp storms now stretch across the galaxy, and the Imperium is once more split in 2. Traitor legions and alien armies besiege countless worlds, entire sectors have disappeared into the abyss, and few dare speculate what nameless horrors run rampant in the weakened and isolated corners of the galaxy. Worse still is the knowledge secretly reported to the High Lords of Terra that the mechanisms of the Golden Throne have begun to fail, and the knowledge necessary to repair them has been lost. Before being executed for their heresy, prophets across the galaxy say now is the time of ending, when the Imperium will finally collapse into a trembling collection of shattered realms before being swallowed up by the encroaching darkness. Yet rumors abound.
Wait, so it's saying that man is eventually screwed, essentially.
That legends thought lost to time have been reborn. There are whispers that hidden vaults on Mars have been unlocked, and powerful new soldiers and armaments are now fighting across the galaxy. If now is truly the time of ending, then the Imperium is not content to stand idly by. Across the worlds of the Imperium, new crusades have been proclaimed, great armies raised, and mighty battle fleets armed and sent forth against the enemy. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
So let's talk about that for a minute. There is so much information, so much, even just the language itself. Sometimes I'm getting words confused. It's a big mind opener as far as how much. It's crazy to think that even people would think of this, or just like the lore and the story in general. Like, there's so much information. Like, I honestly really can't say much because I don't know what to say. I do have one question at least though, and essentially, obviously I'm no politician, so I can't really speak on behalf of like how things would run and all that. But as far as the Space Marines, right? Or just I mean, they act in a way. I mean, obviously, like their training, from what I've seen in the comments of y'all posting, that in the training they get very hardened, also like mentally and physically due to augmentations. They end up developing some kind of carapace that makes their skin even tougher, which somehow connects also with their armor. And do they still have like their own personality in a sense? Like, are they still like, or are they just so like in the mindset like, hey, this is my one job, this is what I'm gonna literally do everything to try to be better at, in a sense, right? So what I'm saying is, do they fight because they have to, or they just see it that that's what they're supposed to do? Or do some of them actually fight because they enjoy it, you know? Kind of like that one anime character that just likes to fight. Because of my own personal experience, I realized when I was in the Marine Corps, some of my super seniors which is a term for people who have been in there and they're getting out as soon as you're coming into the fleet, essentially. So some of them had seen combat, and then one of them specifically, I won't say his name, was talking about how he was excited to see it because he said that that's what he was training for. That was his thing, and he wanted to be able to see how and if he can do it. So as soon as they found out and they were in a firefight, it ended up happening that they didn't really want that to happen because, you know, obviously you don't get second chances. And then it was always the ones, even some people in my peer group and some of my seniors who still had like about 2 years on the contract, that they get really excited as far as like going over and deploying and actually being able to like have the chance to shoot someone or kill them. But in my mind, I was always more of the very few who was like, hey man, I just want to get my paycheck, because when you're deployed you get double the paycheck and you get sometimes per diem. I wasn't serious. So the per diem over there was crazy. It was like $90 a day, plus on top of the double the paycheck. So that's why a lot of people really like to deploy, at least in the Marine Corps, as far as I know. It's mainly for the money. You get insanely fit because there's not much you can buy over there as far as like nasty foods and all that. You have the gym. You have many gyms actually. And it's always hot over there, so you're consistently sweating. I've always also thought about that. So yeah, in my experience, people really love deploying. And if you were like me, you just wanted your paycheck and you just wanted to chill, get in shape, go out, and then go to school or do whatever you were gonna do when you got out. And I feel like a lot of the people that talked about that they wanted to see combat and all that don't know how they would react, or they would try to talk big and say, damn, can you believe we got to work with these guys who've never seen anything, or like don't even take training seriously. And it's like, I'm thinking in my mind like, bro, you haven't seen anything either, and you've been in longer than me, right? And it's always a big thing that I've seen is that the people who have seen it typically don't end up enjoying it. Not all. There's a few that genuinely just love it, and those are like the fanatics that are gonna stay in for the 20 years. But the ones that end up not really liking it or not really caring either way, that it's something they'll do if they have to do it to protect themselves or their guys, then they're gonna do it. But then as soon as their contract is done, they're out, which probably would have been me. But then again, I don't know how I'd react unless I was in that situation. I can say how I think I would, but I would never really know. that's really the question that I'm trying to figure out, is whether or not they had these type of people in the Space Marines, as far as like, do they enjoy the combat, or are they just doing it because that's kind of what they're told to do from such a young age, and then it just gets programmed into their mind for them to actually do it. Alright, so that was a bit of a mouthful. Other than that, I can't really think of anything else to say. I might have to go through this video several times just to get a little better understanding as far as the words, the knowledge. But that's going to go ahead and be it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. It really does help me out a lot. Hit that dislike button if you didn't like it. It helps me improve the channel. If you're curious to see what videos are going to be coming next, just click the description down below. You're going to see a little list of about 5 videos. From top to bottom is going to be how I view them. I'm really excited to start to get to know more about this universe in general. If I'm able to remember things, because this is very more complicated in my opinion than SCPs. Until then, see you all in the next video. Bye.